Bluff City Media presents the Two Bucks Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first Two Bucks Sports Show live Tuesday edition, baby. Sorry for the fake out. We had some technical difficulties because, again, like we said when we first joined this network, we're used to driving the old, Pinto, Pontiac, 1978. This is a spaceship that we're still trying to figure out. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. Uncle Buck, welcome to the show, sir. How are you, buddy?
What's up? Welcome to lunchtime, everybody. Lunchtime with the Two Bucks. We're excited. Listen, we had so much fun with the live stream last, I guess the Friday before Thanksgiving, that just kind of got us thinking bigger. And so $2 twice a week on your lunch break. I mean, we're happy about it. I hope you guys are. We're going to get you 2 episodes a week now. That's more immediate impact. We're excited to be more relevant when it comes to topics as they happen. More relevant with more content, more immediate content, I guess is the best way to put it. So we're really excited about it. If you are watching this on Twitter, we do invite you to come to the YouTube stream because that's typically where all the comment section is happening, and you cannot see YouTube comments in Twitter. Right. So head over to YouTube and Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Get in the comment section with us here, and feel free to try to steer the show if you'd like.
Yeah, because otherwise it's us for the next 30 to 40 minutes of your lunch break. So we need all the help we can get if you've watched our show of any substance. So Drew, we always start our shows with the same thing. We're going to be brief today, but we always catch up with our best in our beef. We talk about the best thing that's happened to us and the worst thing that's happened to us this week. I'll go first. I got mine queued up. I'll go ahead and go with best in beef. Best thing of the week, man. Saturday in Corinth, they had Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They have the Lighthouse Tournament. Yes. Raises money for a lot of good local causes. The Lighthouse there in Corinth that help with underprivileged kids. And they get some studs to come through there. SGA has played there. Devin Booker, Kennedy Chandler. This year, the highlight was Eric Dampier Jr., the number 1 player in Mississippi as a sophomore. He went for 17 and 16 on Friday night. It was an absolute load. The Ellis brothers from North Carolina, the oldest being a South Carolina signee. And then the number 2 point guard in the country, Mikhail Brown, played. And that game, when those two, the Ellis brothers and Mikhail Brown played, high school basketball at its best, man. It was just a different level. And so super stoked to be there with my brother. DG, thanks for being here in the comments, man. There's a lot of beef on the screen. You're absolutely right, man. And I guess my beef for the week is that I got to put up with this clown 2 days a week now.
Yeah. My best of the week is just the Thanksgiving holidays, man. I know you said it this morning on Daily Grind. I wholeheartedly agree. Thanksgiving is Christmas without the pressure of buying presents. And so I love Thanksgiving. I love hanging out with family. I love eating good food. I think it's the best food holiday on the calendar by far. Yeah, I don't really even think of it. There's a close second. So that's my best of the week. My beef is the stupid elf came back, the elf on the shelf for anybody that's got small children. Yeah. There's nothing more stressful than waking up every night trying to remember if you move the stupid elf. And it's a little plush elf. And I've got a 2-year-old that wants to play with stuffed animals. And so the terror that the now 10 and 7-year-old feel when the 2-year-old picks up the elf is unmatched. And I'm finally just like, listen, the elf doesn't care. The elf knows that she doesn't understand. So quit freaking out about it. However, as soon as they touch this elf for the first time, they're going to realize this is all a sham anyways.
I mean, exactly.
It's a stuffed animal.
It is. That it happens to move and get into mischievous acts. If you watch my post-game bounce from Sunday against the Pacers, you can see said elf on the shelf over my shoulder because it was full-on Christmas behind me at the Uncle Buck Gann household there in Ripley, Mississippi. And so tune in, check it out if you hadn't already as we talk about what was a great win for the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah. A large part of that, Drew, is due to the number 1. I'm giving you kind of a cheater in. We currently have the best 2-man combination in the NBA is 2 players on the Memphis Grizzlies at plus 30.6. If you had to guess who those 2 players were, who would you say it is?
The best 2-man lineup in the NBA are now. 2 Memphis Grizzlies.
2 Memphis Grizzlies.
And, I mean, I'm always going to guess Jaren and BC because they've been the best 2-man lineup forever.
Well, you're half right. BC is in the lineup. but
but not Jaren?
It's not Jaren right now. Currently sitting at 30.6 on a plus minus plus 30.6. For those you keeping up at home, that means that the team is 30.6 points better when these two players are on the court versus anybody else. I don't have the minutes on it. I saw this at a glance yesterday, and Keith Perry talked about it on Grits and Grinds. But it's everybody's favorite player. It's your favorite player's favorite player. It's the number one superstar in the NBA.
Jake LaRavia.
It's John Moran. John Moran and Brandon Clark are currently sitting at an NBA best plus 30.6. And we saw a lot of that on Sunday, Drew, because when those two guys are on the court, that pick and roll game feeds families. It's just like we're getting BC back to how BC used to be. And that's leading to this 6-game winning streak that we've been on.
Yeah, the win streak's been great. And it is in no small part to Brandon Clark. You know, he had a very rough start to the season, and I don't know how much of it was just getting his sea legs back, trying to find his role in this offense and on this team. You know, minutes and rotations were wild to start the season. Nobody kind of knew where exactly they were. Everybody was sitting, kind of where the pecking order was going to be and what it looks like. And so as that's kind of worked itself out, I feel like Brandon Clark has been the main benefactor of that. You know, Brandon Clark has just kind of slid in and found his role into what I got to get used to the comments coming in. I got to quit looking. When I'm talking, I'm just going to hold my hand over the comments. But he just went back to doing what Brandon Clark does, and that's get into the lane, get rebounds, floaters, you know, and I've kind of criticized his lack of bounce. Like I wondered aloud on various shows whether or not Brandon Clark would get it back, that elite jumping ability, the leaper that Brandon Clark was. And you've seen it in glimpses, but you've kind of seen him and John Morant both coming off of some injuries have seemed like they're almost protecting themselves by not jumping out of the gym every single opportunity that they get.
Yeah, Uncle Buck is firmly on Jake LaRavia Island here. I do have concerns. I'm curious as whether or not, you know, we've got some blackmail here, because he is all about some Jake LaRavia right now.
No, I just feel validated, and I've been on the island and mocked for so long, based on how he ended last season, and I was truly on an island. I know the Grizz 901 guys. I think one of them, I don't know if it's Daniel or Nate, sort of held up a flag softly, but I was all in on him being a valuable member of a team.
Yeah,
Rusty wanted to paint me as wanting him in the starting lineup, which was never true. But I always saw value in Jake LaRavia because of things that he does well, and that's pretty much everything.
Here's what I'll say. Jake LaRavia's growth and his trajectory has been very surprising and very positive. I've always been in the camp of if Jake is good, then that benefits me well, because I want Jake to be good. I didn't think he was going to be. I tell you who else was right about him. You weren't the only one on that island. Marcus Smart was right. Marcus Smart in the preseason interviews, they were asking who is going to benefit the most from this new lineup, from this new offense, from this new, you know, style of play. And without hesitation, Marcus Smart pointed across the room and said Jake LaRavia. And he was absolutely right. Jake has been on a tear to be one of the guys that's going to be kind of a fringe minute getter when we're fully healthy. Right now, he is intricate to the lineup, to the success of this team, his hustle plays, doing the little things well. Like, he is making it difficult on people to keep reality in check, understanding that Jake is going to be a 11th or 12th man on this team one day. If nothing else, he's helping us in a trade package as a fringe guy that we can move. But Jake has been playing. He's been playing well. Again, like, Twitter is not reality. Fan is short for fanatic for a reason. I have seen people on X, formerly known as Twitter, arguing about there's going to be a bidding war for Jake LaRavia this summer between championship contending teams. Yeah. And it's goofy. Like, absolutely right. Like, DG here is just another guy. He doesn't move the needle for me. Like, for me, he's a good player for what we need right now. But when Gigi comes back and Vince is fully healthy, he's going to go the way of Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jay Huff did against the Pacers and might be a 10-minute guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you brought up Scottie Pippen Jr., and I wondered aloud if he wasn't the one once you saw what Jalen Wells is doing and you add Marcus Smart in, I wondered aloud if Scottie Pippen Jr., despite how amazing he was earlier in the season, if he wouldn't be the one that gets his minutes clipped because the rotation had to be shortened.
Sure.
And that's what we've seen. And I've never been the one to say that Jake LaRavia deserves minutes over GG or Vince or like any of these guys that are in our core going forward. My only sticking point was I was passionate that he does not suck. And if you tell me there's not going to be a bidding war, but I believe 100% when he becomes a free agent that good teams, title contending teams will want him because he does everything right and he will be cheap. Think Kyle Anderson. That's what I see as like a Jake LaRavia being Kyle Anderson light. Listen, he just does things well, and he's going to be affordable. You look at Golden State, you look at Los Angeles, and these teams that have a massive payroll. You can't tell me that they wouldn't rather have Jake LaRavia than Joe Schmo that is on the bench. I mean, I think Joe Ingles is still getting paid by somebody. Like there's players on good teams that are far worse that make a lot more money than Jake LaRavia.
You're not wrong, but
I
truly think I truly think at the end of the season,
I wish
if the Memphis Grizzlies
you're right instead of you're not wrong.
No, I think if the Memphis Grizzlies want to sign Jake LaRavia this offseason, they will be the first person to sign him. Like, they're not going to be a bidding war. Like, it's going to be completely fine. Absolutely right. Like, extension was $5.2 million. It's going to come in that neighborhood. We're not going to get outbid by somebody. If we want Jake LaRavia, we'll get Jake LaRavia.
Well, and you look at what the Grizzlies front office has done when they signed these guys. Now, I know this is going to be Jake's second contract, so it's different. But these guys that they sign off of the two-way deals, like Gigi, like Vince, like Scotty, like J Huff, they're signing them for peanuts, man. Like they're getting in on these guys early and locking them in for a long time. Jake LaRavia, extension for $5.2 million per Daniel Greer in the comments. Get in the comments, folks. There's lots of information here, especially when DG's in there.
Yep.
If $5.2 million was what he's owed, there's nobody, including me, that's going to think that Jake LaRavia is a $10 million a year guy, $12 million. Nobody thinks that. Nobody's going to pay him that. And if he does get the offer, boy, you better
go for it.
Go
for it.
But that's just my point. Like, I think he's such a good role player for an end of the bench kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. And exactly. So far,
listen. Daniel Greer says the Grizzlies could get outbid by me, and I'm going to tell you right now that if I had the $5 million to spend, I'm going to go get a running back for my Rebels. Okay, that's where my money's going.
Look, man, Jake LaRavia is currently 7th in minutes played. He's 5th in rebounds per game. He's how many games he started this year?
None. One.
None. Zero. He started 0 games, which is his role. Like, I think that even the team sees, like, he's not a starter. He's a role player for now on an unhealthy team. He'll be a fringe player on a healthy team. But that doesn't mean, like, you can say that and say he's a fringe rotation player and appreciate what he's done so far this season, because as Gigi once said, that boy hooping. Like, he has stepped his game up in a time when we truly needed him. And for that, thank you, Jake LaRavia.
I do think it's interesting that with the wings you've gotten back, like Luke Kennard, like if you want to call Marcus Smart a wing, and Jalen Wells' emergence, he has not seen the regression in minutes yet. They've only added players to his position group, and so you're still seeing. I think he's in the top 3 or 4 minutes for the team. Santi leads the team in minutes, and he's
7th in average. He's getting 23.7 minutes per game. Total minutes. He's getting 23.7 per game.
And so I think it's kind of telling so far that he hasn't lost minutes yet, because Luke Kennard's lost minutes.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this.
Largely to Jake LaRavia.
Sure. And Luke is going to get, like, but if Killer Cam keeps putting 51 up in the G League, you get Gigi back. We'll get to him in a minute. But, like, let's
talk about LaRavia.
These guys are outplaying Luke, and I'm transitioning to, I guess, Keith hops in the comments on every show and talking about Desmond Bane and besmirching the great Desmond Bane. Like, listen, man, like, Desmond Bane isn't a funk, but how many times have we seen great shooters go through funks, right? You get the yips, like, things aren't falling. The biggest thing with Desmond Bane, and you saw it in the Indiana game, his back is not 100%. Every time he goes to the sideline, he's icing or heating his back to try and keep it loose. He's constantly stretching and moving on the sidelines. And he's not the same Desmond Bane he was last year or 2 years ago because of how involved the oblique and the low back are. Like, he recovered from his oblique injury, but that low back is going to be unstable. He's going to have issues with it. And I could nerd out on that for a while, and I promise I'm not going to.
Ooh,
Desmond Bane is going to be fine. Like, stay on that side. Like, go ahead. That's fine. But I'm telling you, like, absolutely right. Our core three of Ja, Jaren, and Dez are not going anywhere. Desmond Bane is going to snap out of this. He's going to be downhill Dez. And you saw it, like, even in that Pacers game when they weren't falling because of his back, he was still attacking the rim a lot more than he has been. Desmond Bane's going to be just fine.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. If there's one thing, so I guess, I don't know, everybody tonight, the Grizzlies play the Dallas Mavericks. After the game, hop in Grizz 901. I can promise you one thing you're going to see in the comments of Grizz 901. It is Black Ninja DJ hating on Jaren Jackson Jr. And we've got our own hater in our group, man. So I guess over here with just the unrational hatred of Desmond Bane. What I do wonder about with Desmond, and I wonder, they want to use him as a point guard. They want to use him when Ja's off the court to bring the ball up. He can get to the basket. He's actually improved his drive and finish game a lot. But if you want Desmond Bane to excel at what his specialty is, which is shooting the ball, you've got to get the ball out of his hands. Yeah. He cannot be. He's going to always thrive being a two guard off ball. So whether it's playing him more minutes with Scottie Pippen or when he's on the court with Marcus Smart, have Marcus bring the ball up, whatever you got to do, he's the guy that needs to be catching kickouts, and he's not catching any kickouts. Everything, he's having to create his own shot way too much.
Agreed.
And so I want to see Desmond Bane standing on the wing, catching and shooting threes more often. Do whatever offense maneuvering you've got to do that, because everybody's getting a ton of open looks, easy open looks, except Desmond Bane. And that's unacceptable.
And a couple things. Our leading points per game right now is Jaren at 22.4, Ja at 21.2, and Desmond at 13.9. Like, right now, we're getting superstar MVP type. I'm so glad he said this. We'll get to defense here in a minute. Yeah. Superstar MVP type performances from Ja and Jaren. We don't need him to go for 30. But the one thing that he stepped up this year in absence of a shooting, I guess, turn your volume up. This is about a week-old stats, but the best on-shot defensive percentage from a guard in the NBA in the paint is Desmond Bane at 32%. He's only given up 32% like successful shots in the paint. Second place is at 40.5%. Desmond has stepped up tremendously on defense. Also, on defended two-point shots, he is currently only giving up 32% from the field on guys he is defending. Next place is 35%. He's 3% better than second place. Desmond has stepped up and doing things well in the absence of being able to score. Like, the numbers don't lie. His defense is significantly better. Him and Ja both have stepped up tremendously on the defensive side of the ball. And a large part in why we're, like you shared a couple of times on a couple of different shows, our plus minus one way or the other is 15 points. We're winning by 15 or we're losing by 15. He's a big reason why we're winning by 15, because we don't have to hide him on defense anymore.
Right. So right now the Grizzlies are second in the NBA in points per game. I was going to look at defensive. They're 17th in defensive. If you're going to be second in offensive, 17th in defense is going to win you a lot of games. Nobody's asked Desmond Bane to be a lockdown defender. He's not going to be that. But so there again, look at comments while I'm trying to talk. Desmond Bane is capable of being a body in the way. He's got the frame to hold up, and defense is 65 to 75% effort. And I believe without a shadow of a doubt that he's going to be fine. Nobody's asked Desmond Bane to be an elite defender, but he's going to be in the way. He's going to deter shots at the goal like he has always done, and just make life difficult. And
if you want Christmas presents for your kids, 5 rebounds. DG calls it. Go over on the 5. Your leading rebounders for the Memphis Grizzlies at 7.4, Santi Aldama. 6.9, Zach Edey. 6.4, Desmond Bain.
So if the over-under's at 5 or 4.5, and he's averaging over 6 a game, I think you should probably put some money on that. I can't. I live in Mississippi, so.
Yeah, I can in Tennessee, and so I'm going to cook up a little parlay here in just a little bit. But Dez is going to be fine. We've talked about Dez enough. I think another one we need to talk about is resurgence of Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark is BC of old, and it's so impressive to see what he has become after an Achilles injury. Like, that's a catastrophic injury for people with bounce. Like, people who get hops, like, that's a tough one to come back from. Maggie in the comments.
Don't do it.
Thanks for being here, Maggie. Appreciate
Quit showing
you tuning in on your lunch
favoritism.
break. Hey,
I love you all equally.
Up here. I've been popping everybody up here. The famous Maggie from all the other shows. But like, BC getting that bounce back has been so impressive. The fact that like his game is above the rim, and like early in the season we were all like, oh no, BC's only doing layups. Like, what's happening? But in the last week, even like we're seeing him get above the rim, catching oops, getting those rebounds. And like, we don't need him to be a superstar, but the guy's just getting buckets. And again, part of that two-man combination with John Morant, like the Santi, Jaren, BC lineups are legendary for closing out games. And like, it does my heart so good, because I was begrudgingly putting together some trade packages earlier this season with BC in it. I don't think we have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't think we have to do it. If I'm a Grizzlies front office guy, I don't know that I am hell-bent on making a move to compete. I think the team is good enough. The change I would make as the postseason is the offense. I don't believe is conducive to a playoff series when everybody locks down, defense ratchets up. That's when you've got to have your superstars be heavy usage players. They've got to hold up, and they've got to be superstars. And I believe that will happen when the time comes. I do want to see it a little bit more in the regular season. I've said that on multiple shows. That I just want to see Ja go for 40 and just be like, this is my team. I want to see that out of Jaren. I want to see that out of Desmond. You know, Desmond's had a big game this year already. Jaren's had a big game this year. I want to see Ja go for 40. Yeah. That's what's going to happen in the playoffs. I still think that Brandon Clark was one of the bigger ticket items, probably the biggest ticket item that you could see shopped around. If they really want to make a swing for a third or like a fourth starter, I think Brandon Clark is going to be in that mix. I don't think that there's any player. I mean, we're not talking like a Giannis trade here. Like, I don't think that'll ever happen anyways. But outside of like a Hall of Famer being traded to the Memphis Grizzlies, I think the best player that you're going to get out of this is Brandon Clark. I think he is the top. I don't think you're going above Brandon Clark and shipping out of a Gigi Jackson, or obviously not any of the big three, or Jalen Wells, or, you know, I think Marcus Smart is obvious trade candidate, and then Brandon Clark right next to him.
Yeah, I agree, because of Marcus's contract. Now, Marcus's impact on the game of basketball these last couple of weeks cannot be understated with his hustle and drive off the bench in that second unit. But currently, I think you're absolutely right. And for me, shout out Chris Ingram of the No Bluffing Show. Check those guys out on Monday. They went live well past my bedtime Sunday night, but it re-aired on Monday, so I watched it. Chris has been big on John Collins since the offseason, and John Collins is a bit more athletic. He's BC without the Achilles. That's the only kind of one that I could see like moving the needle for me. Otherwise, it's Brandon Clark, because currently in the NBA, this is as of today, this morning, the best field goal percentage in the restricted area in the 24-25 season, minimum of 40 attempted field goals, is Brandon Clark. He's shooting at 84% in the paint. He's ahead of Obi Toppin, Wemby, Jonas, Kessler, Luka, Santi, Josh Hart, Derek Lively. Like, also Zach Edey is on this list at number 10 at 76%. But like, BC's little bunnies,
that's
I think
too
the best
low for
thing,
Zach Edey.
It is,
You're
but
7'5".
It's a minimal sample size.
I know,
but like BC is rightfully our starting center right now. And by the way, he's 6'8". Like, he's not even a big body, but he plays bigger than what he is. He's not shooting threes anymore. And for that reason, I think he has saved his job and maybe Taylor Jenkins for another year.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that was the most egregious thing that I ever saw was when Brandon Clark, from Taylor Jenkins, that is, when Brandon Clark continued to have a green light, that he was not just chewing him out. Like, I would have lost it. But it got corrected in probably the most healthy way for a coach-player relationship. It's in a back room somewhere, not on the bench on television.
Although, real quick, funny side story. My brother is a basketball coach for a high school in Northeast Mississippi. We're a big basketball family. And he has a kid who can dunk. And he tried to dunk in the Lighthouse on Saturday, and he pinned it on the front of the rim and just collapsed on the floor. No. As soon as it happened, Clark pointed to the bench. He said, "Get him out." And if you miss a dunk, you're taken out. He calls it selfish basketball. And so maybe he should have done that with BC. As soon as he shoots it, then pull him out.
I love trade Twitter because I mostly think it's irrational. I guess just hopping in the comments, BC into John Collins and somehow Kennard into Cam Johnson. I don't know why. I don't know why Brooklyn would take that deal. There's going to have to be 3 or 4 first, and you give up 3 or 4 first.
Which
for Cam
I would
Johnson,
personally.
I don't know,
because we're better in the second round than we are in the first round. So like half of this, I guess, is absolutely right. Like BC could turn into John Collins with some second round picks and maybe a Laravia or somebody on the fringe. But you're going to have to really sweeten that pot if you're going to move Luke Kennard for Cam Johnson.
Yeah, he says picks and Smart and Kennard for Cam Johnson, and then at that point, I think you can sit down at the table and start there, and see what.
Cam Johnson is somebody I would do, but that's a great. I guess, man. Thank you. This is a great segue for our next topic. Personally, Drew, I was big on this in the offseason. I was anti-trade in the offseason. Said, hey, let's get healthy and see what we have. I kind of swung the other way a little bit, but I am back on my BS now. I think as constructed, this team could win a championship. We're all talking about going out and getting a big scoring wing, right? Like we need a wing who can score, who can do things with the ball, who can shoot. What if I told you we have one of those at home who just came out of a walking boot, who was a superstar last year on a bad team? Yes, he had growing pains as a first year in the NBA, but G.G. Jackson Jr. ended up on lists with Kobe, LeBron, Steph, Kobe, LeBron, KD, things we had never seen before. And I think just as constructed, if Gigi comes back fully healthy and gets over that foot injury, personally, I think as constructed, we're going to be competitive for an NBA championship. You've already said you don't think this offense is going to make a splash in the playoffs. You might be right because of how the defense locks down, but we haven't seen a true motion offense like this in the playoffs as effectively as we have been running it the last couple of weeks. So for me, I think we're constructed championship ready. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do think that as well. If I do have a worry, it is half-court offense. It's, this season will be judged by playoffs. We can get cute. We can care about standings and all that kind of stuff, and all that stuff matters. 82 games do matter. However, this team will ultimately, and Taylor Jenkins for that matter, will be judged on postseason success. And so I'm only thinking about moves that move the needle in a postseason style of play, which is different than 82-game season. And you've got to figure out a way to be efficient in the half court. I think that an elite Jaren Jackson Jr. is a perfect half court offense player. Heavy usage Jaren Jackson Jr. He can get to his shot anytime you want to, but he's got to be efficient and he's got to be elite. Because the three-point shot just is fine. But you pair that with Ja Morant, you've seen that the offense can get guys open if you need to. Or it will, really. The offense will get guys open to shoot threes. And so I'm not as worried with the half-court offense. Edey's a wrinkle to that I'm just going to have to see to believe, but I think that it's there if you can in spots.
When he was playing, we were better in half court. He was better in the half. He was good in the half court. We were better with him on the court. We were leading the NBA in points in the paint, and we're still in the top 3 in points in the paint.
Yeah, and so I've also got my concerns with Gigi. It's not that I have flashbacks to Dillon Brooks, but that first Dillon Brooks season that got him his big head, his rookie year, was the year that the Grizzlies won 20 games. That's the year that they shipped off. I guess it was is the year they shipped off Mark Gasol. Tony Allen wasn't there. Zach Randolph wasn't there. It was Dylan Brooks' team, Dylan Brooks and Mike Conley. And he had that rookie year put him in the weirdest headspace where he thought he was a superstar on the team and he never really wanted to assimilate into team basketball. Once you got Jaren and then the next year you got Ja, he was never really to take a backseat to that. Now, I don't think Gigi has that mentality, but the fact is that his stats were empty stats on a bad team where he was allowed to do whatever the heck he wanted to do. And so I'm curious to see what he looks like when instead of getting 25 shots a game, whenever from whatever spot on the court he wanted to take his shot, if he can be as efficient and as elite, taking 10 to 12 shots a game in 25 minutes on the court with Ja, Jaren, and Desmond.
Yeah, see, I'm all out on Kuzma in the comments here. Sorry, I guess.
I brought up stats. I brought up stats because this is a name that Grizzlies fans I love, and DG said this, or DG or Nate said it on Grizzlies 901. This is a total reflection of Kuzma kills the Grizzlies, therefore Kuzma must be awesome. Right now, if we're talking about wing scoring, Kyle Kuzma is shooting 27.6% from three, 42% from the field, and he's shooting 5 threes a game. So 5 threes a game at 27%. I just don't care about it. He's known to be a good rebounder. He's only averaging 5.5 rebounds per game, which is good for 89th in the NBA on a bad team.
Yeah, man. I'm all out on that. I would much rather give those minutes to Gigi because if you add Kuzma, that's another mouth you have to feed. And, you know, I would rather also,
and this may be a symptom of being on Washington's team who did not win a game in November, went 0 for November. He's a minus 12.5.
I mean, he's not a needle mover, man. Not a needle mover. And like, I'm sorry, I don't want to take the Wizards superhero or whatever. Man, miss me with that. I'd rather give those minutes to Gigi, who spent a summer in the system, has had time in the system, and I don't think is going to be Dylan Brooks. Gigi strikes me. He's a humble, hardworking kid. And I think he's going to know his role on this team. Like, he can go be that second unit shot taker, but I think when closing time comes, seems like the kind of guy that's going to concede shots to Ja and Jaren. I think he'll make us better in the half court. He needs to work on defense. He also needs to work on assists. That was the one thing, like, he had no assists in summer league. But I think seeing how this offense is working, how unselfish it is, I do think that Gigi's going to be a better fit. And, like, forgive me if I just would rather see what we have at home first. Gigi makes a great point. You know, we're all talking about transaction porn and making trades and stuff. We may not see that at the deadline because of the injuries to Gigi and Vince, because like this team,
it's not on tape. Yeah,
exactly. And Gigi and Vince, like Vince is going to shore up a lot for us on the defensive side. We saw it already in the 3 games he played. We were much better in perimeter defense. Gigi just might be that scoring wing that we need, man. And so like this team could be championship bound as constructed, given health, which I feel like is what we've said for the last 3 seasons.
Well, listen, when you've got an established team with established superstars like we've got with our big 3, if you want to be a young guy and want to make an immediate impact and get lots of meaningful minutes, be good on defense. Gigi's got the frame to be amazing on defense. Give me the hustle. Give me the tenacity on defense. Make shooting the ball difficult on the person you're guarding at all times, and you will get the same treatment that Vince Williams got. Vince Williams worked on his offensive game and became a good shooter and became an offensive tool. But you get on the court and you stay on the court because you're defense. And if you've got defense beside Ja, Jaren, and Bane, like you're going to get minutes.
And that's why either Vince or Jalen starting at the 3 is a win for us. And like honestly, Drew, like whose minutes are you going to take away at that point? Yes, we go get Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson is going to be a starter, right? He will come in and be a starter on this team.
Yes.
Then you're going to lose out on, and for a guy like Cam Johnson, maybe it's worth it. But like Jalen's been playing great. He had 10 points in the 3rd quarter the other night on Sunday against the Pacers. Big points that were monumental or instrumental in us, you know, orchestrating that comeback. Right. Vince is the great defender that we've been missing. He's Tony Allen with a jump shot. And then Gigi could be a generational talent from what we've seen. Marcus Smart, has been playing much, much better in that facilitator role. He's not shooting the ball as much. He's seeing the court better. And then just that defensive hustle, like being able to throw out a lineup of Jalen, Vince, and Marcus, because then Marcus ain't got to shoot. You just got to find Jalen. Like our wing problem might be solved with the wings we have at home.
Yeah. Listen, depth has never been a question. We've got the depth. Do we have the top end guy? Can GG, can Vince, can Marcus, can Luke Kennard, can Jake LaRavia, can they elevate their game in the playoffs to be elite role players? They are very good regular season players in a Tuesday night or a Sunday afternoon against the Pacers.
No.
But when everything comes crashing down, when the game gets more physical on both ends, can you grow your game and stand up in that environment? That's the guy that you're looking for to be that next guy off the bench. The guy that can do that, whether it's GG or whether it's Vince, that's the guy that you're talking about big money to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's a playoff measuring stick. It's not a regular season measuring stick.
Last topic, and speaking of playoffs, is a great segue. I've been a major critic of Taylor Jenkins, his rotations, and his lineups, majorly. We currently have 11 players averaging 20 minutes a game. That's a bit extreme. But if you pare that sample size down to the last 2 weeks, we're running out about 8, 9 at the most guys, 20 minutes a game. He is already starting to whittle that lineup down. So for all that crap we were talking 3 weeks ago, Taylor heard it. It's coming down to it. We're starting to figure out what our lineup's going to be. And some of those guys that are averaging 20-something minutes a game, I'm looking at you, Jake and Santi, that's going to go down when Gigi and Vince are back on this team. And so I personally think that Taylor is starting to turn the corner, and it's about right. Like looking at the calendar, it's December the 3rd. January is when he makes that turn. He's been the coach of the year or coach of the month in January for the last 3 seasons running. And we're starting that trend early. We're on a 6-game winning streak. We're blowing through teams averaging 120 points per game and 30 plus assists per game. I talked about that on the Daily Grind this morning. Like we are 61-8 under Taylor Jenkins when we score 120 plus with 30 plus assists. We've already set a franchise record with 35 or more assists in 7 games of our 21 games. It's a franchise record through 21 games. So I'm here to give some flowers to Taylor Jenkins as we wrap up this show because he's starting to figure it out. I still have questions, but what I've seen recently, he's starting to turn rotations around and play his best players.
Yeah, so for me, this is kind of where I've sat the whole time. I know Taylor's a guy that in his nature likes to spread it out. I think he's scared of overworking players, and that's a philosophy that I wish we would get past. However, I was team, you're playing the hand that you've been dealt. And for earlier in the season, there were long stretches without Ja. There were long stretches without Bane. Vince Williams did not play 1 game before he got hurt again. G.G. Jackson's still not here. Luke Kennard did not start the season. It has been an absolute carousel of players in and out of this lineup. And so I didn't necessarily blame Taylor Jenkins for playing a lot of guys because even when he played every player he had available to play, it was only 12 dudes. You just didn't have that guy, that obvious guy that you were giving the shaft to minutes wise until Ja came back. And then that's when it stopped. That's when it stopped because Ja got pissed, rightfully so. Ja's back. Ja needs to play. So, I've always got to put more of the blame. I've been more understanding of that because you just didn't have a player that probably deserved 35 minutes a night at that time.
We do now.
You do now, and you've seen it change. And and I've been encouraged because, like we've said, hard decisions were going to have to be made when you started getting players back. And you saw the first instance of that needing to be made, and it was made when the same game Marcus Smart and John Morant Marcus Smart and Desmond Bane came back, and then Ja came back. And at that point, it was like, okay, now are we going to play 13, or who's getting the axe? And I guarantee you, the guy that they just paid in the offseason, signed right after training camp, Scottie Pippen Jr., it was not a easy call to make to decide that Scottie Pippen Jr. is not going to play relevant minutes in this game. That was not an easy decision.
He played 9 minutes against the Pacers of meaningful basketball. He ended with 12, but 3 of those minutes were garbage time at the end.
And everybody's, fan favorite Jay Huff to start the season. He got first quarter minutes in that Pacers game. He was awful, and he did not play again until the game was in hand. When you got Yuki minutes, that's when you got Jay Huff minutes.
Yep.
And so he's shown the ability to see what happens in front of him. Oh, Jay Huff sucks tonight. He's done.
Yeah. Agreed. Jay Huff is a break in case of emergency type player. He's a guy that can come off the bench, be a microwave, go on a heater. But real quick sidebar on that.
If Jay Huff hits his first 3, he needs to play 17 minutes. If he misses it, he needs to play 3.
I guess, man, brother.
He's so streaky.
I guess it's going from Kyle Kuzma to Brandon Ingram now. Like, he wants to ship Bane and Concho Brandon Ingram. I'm like, come on, bro. That's terrible.
That's terrible. I don't want Brandon Ingram either
at all. Like, what a terrible take. But we're doing the most with less. There are 3 players in the NBA averaging 30 or 20 plus points a game in less than 30 minutes. Steph Curry, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. And
one of those players is like 36 years old, and the other 2 are in the 20s.
I know. I wish, again, like, if Jaren was playing 33 minutes, that's literally, if he's averaging 28.4. If he was averaging 33.4, I think we'd be having NBA MVP conversations. Right now, we're having all NBA Defensive Player of the Year, first team all defense type conversations for sure. But if Jaren got 5 more minutes. But again, I'm not beating on Taylor Jenkins. I'm giving him flowers because you're right. He's figured it out. He's playing the right players. Pip went from a triple-double in Chicago a week ago, and he played 4 minutes, again, 9 minutes against the Pacers, most of it in garbage time.
And I wanted everybody to get off, I guess, for a minute. I'm starting to feel like it's getting a little cruel, okay? I want you to come back, brother. We just disagree on this, okay?
We disagree on who we need to trade for. Kuzma and Brandon Ingram. Like, Wolf, it's a rental because he's going to want a max deal. We're already paying – we got to pay Jaren in this offseason. We're paying Ja. We're paying Bane. But, we've got guys to pay this offseason. And Brandon Ingram ain't going to be one of them. And, Jalen Wells' mid-range game is getting better. We've got guys that are figuring it out, man. This team's going to be really good. Yeah. We've also got Cam Spencer, Killer Cam. We'll end with him. 51. Drew, of his 51 points, 50 came from the floor. He shot 1 free throw. He was 80%. 12 of 15 from 3. 75% from the floor. Was just an absolute monster for the hustle the other night.
I'm in a group message with some Grizzlies fans, and we started talking about him this morning, and he's like, I got to go look up the highlight reel for Cam Spencer last night. And then he responded back, he's like, dude, this highlight reel is 4 minutes long. It's like, yeah, I know. And I'm such a hater for some of these people that get 50 points. Like, because you get 50, I don't want to give you credit. I want to look at the box score. You know how many times Joel Embiid has had a 50-point game and shot 25 free throws, made 25 free throws? That's not the same. Cam Spencer on 1 free throw, shooting 80% from 3. Like, dude, if you want me to make some Grizzlies fans mad, in blowouts, everybody chants Yuki. No, give Cam Spencer every single Yuki minute. Yuki is not an NBA player. He's fun. He's 5'8". Trust me, I want to rep the 5'8" guy as somebody that's not 5'8". I want to be that guy that I want Yuki to be good. The truth is that he's just not. And he's not got a path to playing meaningful NBA minutes. Give Cam Spencer every single Yuki minute and then find a few more. Just find spots for him here and there. Maybe he's you've got the guy that who is it for the guy for Boston that they bring in, Peyton Pritchard, just to shoot half-court shots.
Just to shoot half-court shots.
Bring in Cam Spencer with 1.5 seconds on the clock every time and just find him a shot. Yeah,
and that's it, man. And wearing a black shirt under an all-red jersey is nasty work. But he went for 51
You've got 2 Grizzlies in such a league fits culture You got two Grizzlies that just don't give a dang about it, with Vince Williams wearing no socks and a T-shirt underneath it, and Cam Spencer with a T-shirt. I mean, this isn't even dry fit stuff. Like, this is Chris Douglas Roberts T-shirt under the jerseys. Like, it may be a graphic tee. It may be like a Van Halen graphic tee underneath it. I don't know.
For Cam Spencer. For Vince, my guy literally picked up a pack of Hanes or Fruit of the Looms on the way to the FedEx Forum, the baggy sleeves. Like,
he's just dripping sweat off of his T-shirt.
In a society and a league that is so big on drip and fit, like, those two guys do not care. And Cam Spencer is a bucket, and Vince Williams is going to shut down your favorite player.
just like Cam Spencer. Like, I feel like me at peak of powers is like in a hoodie. Like, that's my element. Like, I'm not going to try to, I'm married. I got 4 kids. I'm very happy. Like, I'm not going to Brooks Brothers. I'm not buying off the mannequins. My wife loves me. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to try hard and I'm going to provide. And that's what Cam Spencer's doing. We ain't trying to impress nobody. We're just going to ball.
That's going to do it for us today on the 2 Buck Sports Show. Thank y'all for being here. I guess, man. Thanks for being in the comments, brother. You gave us a lot to talk about.
We want to have you back. We'll agree on something eventually. I promise.
Eventually. Absolutely. DG, Kenny, Maggie, everybody that was in the comments, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. It makes these shows so much more fun, and this is why we do it, is to hang out with our friends and talk hoops. But you always got to take what we say with a grain of salt, Drew.
Yeah, because with the 2 Buck Sports Show, you always get what you pay for and not a cent more. So you want to get more, pay more.
Yeah.
We'll throw a Cash App in here or something.
Absolutely. But hey, thank y'all for being here. We'll be back Thursday, noon o'clock. See you then, going live.
Grizz 901 tonight after the Grizzlies Mavericks game. Tip-off is at 6:30, I think. Right after the game, come back to the same YouTube channel. Watch DG and Nate on Grizz 901.
We'll be here hanging out. Come hang out with us. See y'all tonight. See y'all Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the 2 Buck Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.